My name is Agostino Simonetta, and I run the ID at Xbox program in Europe. And today we want to talk to you about ID at Xbox and self-publishing. So ID at Xbox established in 2013 at Gamescom, the announcement. So we're nearly getting into our third year from the launch, and a lot of things have changed. But what is ID at Xbox? ID at Xbox enables qualified game developers to bring their content to Xbox One and Windows 10 platform with Xbox Live integration. That's the overall program goal. So going into a bit more details about the goals of the program, ID wants to enable developers to seamlessly ship their games on our platform to give the best possible experience to developers, least barriers, and make it as easy as it can possibly be. We want to provide our partners a robust and sustainable marketplace in which to sell their games. It's very, very important that it's not just as easy as it can be to launch a title on a platform, but also the platform makes its best to make commercial success possible on the platform, so developers can be successful and keep doing what they love doing. We really like to listen and implement feedback from our developers and players and make ID a far better experience than what has always been. We travel a lot, we go to a lot of events, we like to listen to feedback from our partners and the players to make sure that we improve the program and adapt it to the needs of our partners. Transparency and communication are the hallmarks of the program. We run the program in a very, very open way. We try to provide developers with all the information they need in order to succeed with us. So how do we try to achieve our goals? So developers can ship games on Xbox One and Windows 10 with Xbox Live with full access to the feature of the platform, from Xbox Live to Kinect to the power of the hardware. There's no distinction between an ID at Xbox developer or a AAA developer. All developers are the same. Developers, as I said, get the same level of access. It's very, very important we enable the creativity of our developers, empowering them to take advantage of what the Microsoft ecosystem has to offer. When we established the program, one of the big challenges that we saw for developers bringing content to a console platform at the time was actually acquiring dev kits. Dev kits traditionally have been very, very expensive and a barrier to entry to most developers. So we decided that any developer that is approved as an ID at Xbox developer will get 2 dev kits completely free from us. As of today, there are more than 1,400 developers in the world with dev kits that they receive free from ID at Xbox. At the time of the launch of ID, the main middleware the developer were using, and still today, was the Unity engine. So we decided that we would have a relationship with Unity that means developers don't have to pay for the Unity license for Xbox One. All games are sold in the same marketplace. At Microsoft, at Xbox, we say that a game is a game is a game. So they all are sold in the same marketplace. They all are sold in the same way. The marketplace doesn't distinguish between ID at Xbox title or a AAA or a first-party Microsoft title. Sometime, as is happening in May this month, we are doing a big ID at Xbox promotion, but there is an amplification of the ID at Xbox message. There are no fees to be paid to Microsoft for certification, updates, and you can update the game as often and as frequently as you want. No matter how many times we say this, we always get people to give us likes on Twitter, and we like to restate it all the time. That doesn't mean that developing a game is free, at no cost. There are, especially on console, there are certain fixed costs that a developer will have to pay for, but no money is paid to Microsoft to bring a title to the platform. We offer tons of development support, both at a global level, but a regional and very, very local level. We partner very closely with our local DX team. We are here in Moscow working this event with our local DX team to make sure that we take advantage of the penetration of staff that we have at the global level. So to provide developers with the best possible experience. And also we do a lot of work on amplifying the promotional activity that our ID at Xbox publishers are undertaking themselves. Discovery and visibility is one of the big challenges independent developers have today. So we help our partners as much as we can, taking advantage of all the channels available to us. Opportunities go from dashboard promotion, at launch of a product, or included in a special promotion like it's happening this month with the ID at Xbox Game Fest. And then they go to social media and PR amplification. We have a lot of channels that ID at Xbox partner can take advantage of. Xbox Wire, Facebook, our Twitter accounts, Major Nelson, he has 1 million plus followers. Those are all channels that are available to ID at Xbox developers to bring and amplify their message and bring more customers. And also we have ID at Xbox dedicated community channels. While those channels haven't got as much traffic as Major Nelson Twitter feed, they are actually followed by key influencers in the industry. We know that streamers, YouTubers, journalists that cover Xbox content will read the ID at Xbox blog or will watch our weekly stream. So that is an extremely important tool for developers to take advantage of. Then we have, as Xbox, a lot of activities going on all the time. We do GDC, we do E3, we do Gamescom, EGX. We do a lot of consumers and industry shows where we try to support our partners. I'm just coming here from like a month-long sort of journey of activities, consumer shows, and industry events. And in the last month alone in Europe, we promoted 40, 50 titles, our industry events. So showcasing to consumers, showcasing product to the press. And so that's a very, very important thing because developer can take advantage of the investment we make to reach out to customers and be part of this journey with us. So ID at Xbox process, it starts with the registration. I'm going to have a link to the registration in a second. You submit your application, and when you submit your application, as we get lots and lots of applications, we always recommend to give us as many information about yourself, about the company, about the game, about your project as you can. Help us understanding who you are, what you want to do, and what you want to achieve. That makes our life easier. It makes your life easier. The moment you start registering, you're going to get monthly newsletter. So we keep everybody that has applied to the program up to date. Then you sign your NDA. You submit your concept. So you just give us a high-level overview of the product you want to bring. Tell us whether you want to go to Xbox, to Windows 10 Xbox Live, to both of the platforms, just Windows 10. And then from there, you go on a journey to get access to SDK, the development forum, the dev kits, the free Unity license, and you start developing your product. And you go all the way down to certification, so getting approved to launch on the platform. Once the game is ready, you put it through certification. And then publish, working with us on your publishing process. And then you keep updating your product and keep engaging with us in making sure that you keep promoting your content throughout the life cycle. So to apply for ID at Xbox today, you can go to www.xbox.com/ID. Also, there is a portal to a lot more information that I could ever give to you guys in a presentation about gaming in the Microsoft world. So I recommend you to go and check the website and register if you want to register. If you have further questions, you can email us at id@xbox.com or reach out to us on Twitter. As I said, we really run an open and program, and we engage massively with developers on social media. We never hide behind emails, so reach out to us if you have further questions. So I wanted to give you a quick overview of ID at Xbox, because the key part of this presentation, actually, is about the great revolution. So the next section of the presentation is about what has happened over the last decade and what it means for developers that want to bring their content to our platform or any platform. So what's the Great Revolution? Well, it really happened in the mid-2000s, and it's all down to penetration of broadband in our houses. So digital distribution became a real thing for a mass market. Yes, in the 90s, we had PC developers distributing their content digitally, but it was just for really a small section of the market, the core gamers. We had the connection at home. That, in conjunction with the openness of platform used to be closed platform reserved for selected partners. Now we are living in a world where platforms are open and embracing all different type of content. And the development tools, the improvements of the development tool, ease of use, free development tools, those three elements create this great revolution where an independent developer sitting in his living room for 4 years can launch a product like Stardew Valley. We used always to reference Minecraft, right? Now we can mention titles like Stardew Valley developed by one guy in his living room. We have titles on Xbox launched by a team of 2 guys doing it as a second job. Now, without this innovation and revolution, that would not have been possible. So I've been doing games for about 20 years nearly. There has never been a better time to be a game developer as it is today. Never been better to be making games. The appreciation and acceptance of games from independent developers have never been higher. If you look at the volume of sales some of the independent titles are making across a range of platforms, it's fantastic. There is a real recognition. The independent bring new ideas to market, new gameplay mechanics, new point of views. It's fantastic. And the market potential keeps growing. Year on year, more titles are coming out, which we're going to talk about in a second, but it's just more people are buying those kind of games or engaging with those kind of games. And the barriers to entry to get started have never been lower. When I started, we were writing our own PC engine, our own PS1, PS2, Xbox engine, a low level in assembly. You don't need to do that now. You have GameMaker, Unity, Unreal, and there are a million different tools that allow my 7-year-old daughter to do her first game a lot easier than I had to do it using BASIC on a VIC-20 device. And I'm not a big believer of the indie apocalypse. This was a hot topic probably end of the year last year. We need to realize that in a world where digital distribution enables anybody with easy-to-use tools to create an experience, creating games is now like creating music. It's like writing books. Anybody in the audience plays an instrument? Okay, anybody in the audience has made millions of dollars playing that instrument? But you're still playing, right? And I have friends that, it all went green. I have friends that play in a band, in pubs and bars. They're not rock stars, but they still do it for the love of the passion. The same is happening with video games. There are a lot of people doing it. Some people will make a lot of money. Some people will make money. A lot of people might not make money. And some people will only do it for the passion. So the indie apocalypse, we need to take that away and look at it under a different perspective. But the best time ever doesn't mean it's easy. Making game has always been hard. Today is not different. What's hard moves around. When I started, you had to write your own low-level code. Now you don't. By the time, visibility was guaranteed to us by the publishers. The publishers were taking care of PR, marketing, distribution, visibility. We didn't need to understand any of that. And there were not that many titles out there. So this is probably one of the most important messages. If you're an independent developer and you're self-publishing, you don't have any publishing partner, you doing the game is barely 50% of the job. You need to be a financial planner, you need to be a marketing person, a PR person, business developer person, a salesperson. That's as important and more important than actually developing a great game. Because if you build a game, and it's a great game, the clients might not come. So there's so much more. And you guys need to be aware of all of that. Many of the challenges in the you're facing today are totally different from what has been faced before. I think Mike Bethel was mentioning something like this yesterday. Things are always different. They keep evolving. So it's very hard to actually have a formula for what works and doesn't work, because the challenges change on a quarterly basis. So to the point that change is the new stability. Market for independent developers change rapidly, faster than anything that we have ever seen. It's a lot easier to build a AAA product, investing millions of dollars, and having a more predictable outcome than it is to create an independent game and knowing you're going to be successful, medium success. It's very, very hard. We don't know, developers don't know. And what worked last year is almost guaranteed that it's not going to work this year. I quote Mike Bethel again, actually Rami. Rami said that some time ago on Twitter, if I tell you how I was successful with my product 2 years ago, you're going to fail this year. What worked back then is not going to work now. But the market is growing, and there are more and more titles coming to platforms. Some platforms have more titles than others, but it's a trend, it's happening. People want to express their creativity in games. And getting through to the players, getting players to know about your product, this is your challenge. It's the hard part. Developing the games is actually relatively easy. Never easy, but relatively easy compared to the rest of the work you have to do. But what's great, the fundamentals don't change. So what players want doesn't really change. They want novelty, they want new ideas, they want new experiences, they want great gameplay, and they want great stories. They don't always need all of three to be in the same game. So it's not that you need all of three in all the game, but those are the three pillars of what people want. And what of each of those elements looks like successfully is different for all the players and for every game. What that means, you can actually identify your niche. Maybe you're creating a product where there's no story, it's all innovating gameplay, and you can find a niche in that area. And with digital distribution, that niche might be big enough for you to be extremely successful. So, development. Okay, sorry. In a world marked by change, time to market is becoming a crucial factor. You could spend 1 year, 2 years of your time, lots of money, and you get your timing wrong, your planning wrong, and you destroy your opportunity. You need to try to lead the market. This is easier said than done, but let's say that at the moment we are seeing lots of announcements for, I don't know, horror games. And there are a lot of horror games in development. If you start working on an horror game now, by the time you get to market, it might be saturated. So you need to bear that in mind. Understand what you can actually achieve. I mean, not all the games need to completely revolutionize the industry. Your game can actually innovate in some areas and be conservative in other areas. Just realize what you can achieve. And development speed. Again, your launch date is the most important thing of the entire development of your game. Everything is around that launch date. You need to find the right moment to launch your product. So be realistic about your development. Don't over-deliver. Don't create too many features. Don't overbuild. It's better to have a smaller game that is polished and it launches at the right time than a bigger game that misses an opportunity to market. So understand of your market opportunity. How many of you are using Steam Spy? So how many of you are developing a game they want to self-publish? Okay. Anybody that wants to self-publish should be using Steam Spy on a daily basis. It's only for Steam. It's not official data, but gives you an indication of what's selling, what's not selling. And even though you might not have data for consoles, or they sort of have a quite clear correlation between the two. Now, possible and a good idea are not always the same thing. So at the moment, there are a lot of platform side-scrolling games coming out on all the platforms. Unity makes it very, very easy to create a game like that. Somebody on Gamma Sutra did an article. They built a platform game in 3 days, writing no code and creating no hearts, just buying stuff from the Unity store. Sometimes the fact that you can do something might not mean, and it's a good idea, it might not mean there's a good commercial opportunity. So just look at what's available in the market and think about the competition you're going to have for your product. But feel free to ignore the market. This is very important. If there are lots of puzzle games or a lot of platform games or a lot of but you think you have the right product, do it. But be aware of the market condition. Always be aware of the market conditions. And collaboration is key. Events like DevGam are fantastic. The team has done a fantastic job putting together an event that is growing year on year. I was here last year. This year, it feels so much bigger than last year. Work with your local development community, people like Microsoft team here, or any opportunity you have to collaborate with people. Learn from people that are close to you. They are not your competitors. You are all competing on a global level. Take advantage of local opportunities. And on console, you get one launch. What that means, that launch day, the performance of your product on the launch day will affect the lifetime sales of your opportunity. So if we go back and think about what I said about lead the market, develop a game that you know you can deliver, then that is why. On console, if you're an Ideate Xbox title, you don't really want to launch in the window between September and December. It's very hard. You have all the AAA. Now, if your development is taking too long, and you're running out of money, and you need to launch in October, you potentially undermine the sales of your product. Now, what that means is that the day you start serious development, you need to think about at what time is my money running out, and until what point I can pay for the salaries, or, and make sure that you plan so you can actually launch your product at the right time. Otherwise, you're wasting a lot of money. Finance and funding. There are more finance options than ever out there. You go from angel investor, bootstrapping, publishers, friend and family, early access model, Kickstarter, crowdfunding. There are a lot of opportunities to get funding that were not available in the past. But remember that every source of funding comes with strings attached. So if you have a publisher, if you have an angel investor, they all have vested interest in maybe in selling your company or having a massive return. Some people want to grow the company for the years to come. Everybody has like a different point of view and goals. Ironically, the more you want to focus on just developing your game, the more strings you want. The publisher scenario is the one where there are a lot of strings attached working with a publisher, but then that's a scenario where you're gonna be left alone the most. Ironically, Kickstarter is a lot of string, but you are not going to be left alone. The Kickstarter, once you do it, you're successful, you're building an extended family. Your community, they will have to be looked after. They invested in you, they believe in your product, and they want you to engage with them. Keep them up to date, get them the feeling and get them involved in the development of your product. So there are a lot of strings attached to that, but you're not going to be left alone. Kickstarter is a great tool, has helped many developers, but bear this in mind. You can't just take the money and ignore your Kickstarters. You will have to work with them on a daily basis. So publishing. The publishing landscape has evolved over the last few years. So we had a time probably 2011, 12, when mentioning the word publishers to an independent developer would have caused serious, like, funny faces and, upset faces. That has changed because publishing landscape has changed. So today, a lot of developers are self-publishing across Microsoft platform and all the other platforms. Self-publishing is a thing. We should stop calling developers. If you're self-publishing, you're a digital publisher. But you can work with digital publishers. There are companies like Team 17, Curve Digital, Grip Games, Devolve, and the list goes on and on and on. They are what we call digital publishers. They traditionally were developers, or they're a new company. They don't do retail games. They don't put games in a box. And they focus on publishing developers' content on digital channels. Or you can work with traditional publishers to distribute your product digitally. Traditional publishers like 505 or Koch Media or Sold Out and EA, Activision, all of those publishers to different levels, they engage with digital publishing of independent content. But this would have been unexpected 4 years ago. Digital distribution is not your only option. Work with partners to bring your product to the retail market in a box. Obviously, there are pricing considerations. To go retail, you need a certain price point for your product. But we are seeing more and more ID at Xbox product being launched in a box. So normally, the ID at Xbox developer will self-publish digitally, and then work with companies like 505, Sold Out, Koch Media, to put it in a box. Retailers are now extremely keen, in some markets more than others, but to have independent games on their shelves. So that really was unexpected a few years ago. We all thought independent is an only digitally publishing model, but it's not. There are a lot of platforms out there, and there are 2 or 3 new platforms coming out over the next week. I mean, this presentation is probably always out of date when it comes to platform. So a lot of potential choices for developers. And as a developer, again, if you're self-publishing, you're running a business. So you need to decide which one offers the best opportunity for you by the time you're going to launch your product. So at the moment, console is less crowded than Steam. And Steam is less crowded than the various app stores. On console, since the fall of 13, autumn 13, fewer than 1,000 digital-first titles have shipped from independent developers across PlayStation, Xbox One, and Wii U combined. So we're looking 1 title a day over the last 3 years compared to tens of titles on a daily basis on some of the platforms. So at the moment, developers seem to be quite keen on console, but this is changing because developers have seen an opportunity in the console space, and titles is increasing. And again, the gating factor on a console for you, same as at the other platform, is how much customers are aware of your product. So consoles, you still need to, even though they are less crowded, there are fewer titles, visibility and building your PR and marketing to make sure everybody knows about your product and is keen about your product is still an important aspect. So don't assume that because consoles are not crowded, then you're going to easily be selling a lot of copies. Developers still need to do a lot of work to get visibility for their product with influencers, streamers, YouTubers, and things like that. And be aware of the market condition on console. It keeps changing. The type of customers that are coming to console keep changing, so try to pay a lot of attention to what's happening. And again, go back to the launch time. On console, the life cycle sales of your product depend on the performance of your product on day 1. So try to plan your development, finance, marketing to achieve the best possible day 1. At ID at Xbox, we don't control your release date. You decide when you're going to launch your product. But we try to advise developers to find always breathing space to find the day of the week of the month, where your product can have the most visibility, can have the best chance to be seen by as many people as possible, and not to be launching in a crowded week. So again, launch timing. A bad launch time can doom a great game. We have seen titles like undermining their sales because they picked the wrong launch date. It can help maximize your success. And if you're forced to launch on a given date because you run out of money, for instance, or because you have force, because all the marketing is planned, and you really undermine potentially the success of your product. So you should be actively solving for launch timing throughout development. What solving means, you need to plan your launch day in anything you do. From the code you write, the design, the features you put in your game, the gameplay mechanic, everything, if it's a commercial endeavor, for you to make as much money as possible with your product, you need to think about day one. That's the most important thing. Well, you need to find the perfect slot for your product. Promotional channels, just a brief overview. You want to build awareness of your game, and that's your #1 goal, right? Your launch day is the #1 goal. Go out and gather feedback from as many people as possible. Show your game to people at conferences, and go to public squares. We had an Italian developer. Their PR and marketing was, we get 2 chairs, we go to public squares, we have a laptop. On a Saturday night, people will come and play the game. It worked. They built a documentary about it, and it costed them very little. You have lots of fantastic squares here in Moscow. Just go to one of those, if it's allowed, and just get your laptop out and play the games. And that was a fantastic idea, right? It's guerrilla marketing. But check all the promotion opportunities against those 2 goals. What that means is sometimes developers want to go to the big fancy shows, E3, Gamescom. Actually, most likely, the journalists, all the key people that you want to talk to, they will be busy at those shows. So sometimes going to smaller events gives you more visibility than the big shows. Because the big show, the big guys spend a lot of money to make sure they get all the attention. So bear that in mind. If I'm spending X amount of money to go to a show, will I get a good return against those 2 goals? And then channels, sort of, which ones are the most important? So we start with Facebook is great. Build your Facebook page for your product, but that's more a destination for people that are already engaged with your product. Magazines, they used to be the #1 goal to be on a magazine. Now, probably they are not as relevant as used to be. It's still great to have your product on a magazine, but probably it's not as important as somebody blogging about your game. Or actually, it's people chatting on Twitter, you building your profile, and somebody very interesting to follow on Twitter. Yesterday we had Rami, and actually today Rami is speaking. Yesterday Mike Bethel was presenting. Those guys are huge Twitter personality. People follow them, not just their games. So not everybody can be a Rami, but that's a very important thing to do. Build your own profile. Start streaming and creating videos. You might get 3 followers on your stream. Week after, you might get 5. And then you can maybe strike a chord, and people will start following you. If nothing else, you're learning how to speak publicly. You're learning how to do stream. It's a good exercise. Events, we talked about it. Not necessarily the big ones. Small events can give you a lot of attention. English-speaking events, if you're trying to reach a global market, tend to be pretty good. There are events like EGX Rest in the UK. That's a great event because all the media go there for indie titles. The big titles are not really there. So if you're trying to reach a global audience, marketing and PR your product in English as well as in your local language is very, very important. First-party connection are very important. Company like us, Nintendo was here yesterday, Sony. The console manufacturer will spend a lot of money to be at big shows, to show the games coming to our platform to as many consumers as possible. Try to work with first party. Try to get their attention. YouTubers, pro YouTubers, if we all know how important they are. Sometimes it's hard to reach out to, PewDiePie, right? Everybody's dream. But start with the smaller ones And if you get traction with the smaller one, reach out to the medium-sized one and say, look, so many people already talked about my game, and they might be paying attention. And then maybe one of the big guys will notice you. But you start small if you can't reach out to the big guys. Don't be concerned. They can still reach out to the hundreds or thousands of people anyway. And again, same with streamers. Now, today, there's probably somebody very, very clever somewhere in the world that is building the next big thing that we will all be using to promote our games. You know, we went through an Instagram phase, Snapchat phase. So things keep changing. This is, again, going back to change is the new stability. Who knows what's going to be the key instrument to promote your game in 6 months' time? So there was an overview on ID at Xbox, and the second part was an overview on self-publishing that you can apply all those considerations to any platform you are working on today. So I want to leave you with a few takeaways. There's never been a better time to be making games. You guys are developing games in a time where you have easy access to consumers, instant access to information, instant access to key people in the industry, tweet people. If you're interested in talking to myself or Chris Charla or Yoshida Sony or whoever, message those people on Twitter. What are they going to do? We're going to reply. We're going to try to reply as fast as we can. But you need to understand the business. If you are a digital publisher, you need to understand that development is the easy thing. You know how to do it. You are creative people. You are talented people. And that's what you've been trained for. But marketing, PR, business, it's more important than actually just the game. Because once you build it, you need to sell it. And in a world marked by change, where trends change on a quarterly basis, on a monthly basis, you need to lead the market, and your launch time is key. And if you get the good launch timing, fantastic, it's going to help your product. If you get the wrong launch timing, you could effectively kill years of work, money spent, passion, and people won't buy your product. Again, if you're interested in knowing more about ID at Xbox, go to xbox.com/ID. If you want to register to become part of ID Xbox because you want to do your product on Xbox or Windows 10 with Xbox Live, register, give us tons of information about you. And in case you need anything, reach out to me. I had my Twitter account at the beginning, or email us, id@xbox.com. If you don't hear back from us, sometimes it happens. We have the local DX team here. Roman, raise your hands, and Dimitri. So we have a local team you can work with. We work on a daily basis together. Thank you so much. That's my Twitter handle. If you have any questions, send that. Thanks a lot.